back to another episode of JT Talks Jobs. This is the show that teaches you everything that school didn't teach you about job search and career growth. My name's JT, and today we're going to be talking about 10 unique ways you can network in a crisis. That's right. How do you keep the networking going when you're at home, everyone's social distancing, we can't go to any place in person? Well, I'm going to crack the code for you today and show you some fun and truly unique ways that you can make a great impression, build meaningful relationships, and keep your networking going. But before I do it, it's two things I really want to mention to you, two important things that my teammates over at Work It Daily have been working so hard on that I need to share with you. First of all is our Laid Off and Looking webinar. So we did a free training. Within 7 days, over 2,000 people had signed up for this training, and the feedback has been phenomenal. It's totally free. You can grab that link and learn the strategy that you need to put in place so that you can be more effective in your job search when you've lost your job. The other exciting thing I want to tell you is that every single month inside Work It Daily, we create brand new, timely live trainings for our members. And this month, we are going to be doing how to get unstuck in your job search. So really fun, short lessons every day. You can follow along with literally thousands of other community members who are taking the same course and same challenge and figure out and pinpoint what's going wrong in your job search, because it's not the same for everyone. It really is different depending on who you are, where you live, where you are in the process, your skill sets, how long you've been working. There's so many factors. So why not dissect that, identify the places you can improve and move forward, really remove those roadblocks. So again, all you need to do is be an active member of Work It Daily. So we'll give you links on how to do that. And just to remind you, for less than what most people spend on coffee each week, you can have full access for a month to our courses, our coaching, one-to-one messaging with our coaches, and our incredible community. So please go check it out. I promise you, once you try a career growth club, you will never go back. All right, so let's keep this party going. We are going to be talking about unique networking tips. So it was funny. The team came to me and said, hey, we want to talk about networking in a crisis. Everyone's really struggling with this. And I said, I really want to do something different. I want to get people to think outside the box on that. If I want to use a term, it might sound a little outdated. So the first thing that I have to tell you, you don't want to do, the one thing that is not unique, is to just message people and say, I'm just checking in. In fact, that word just is the worst word you can use. There's just something about it that just hits everybody the wrong way. I don't know about you, but I have been getting inundated with emails from vendors and people that maybe I bought something once from in the last decade. Every company out there is dusting off their email list and messaging out of the blue, just, sending warm wishes and hoping we're well. And I appreciate people thinking positively, and I know that we all are. It doesn't do anything for me. That is not building a relationship with me in any way. And so if I know that's not working for businesses right now in the crisis, then I can tell you it's not working for people as well. So you don't want to waste that valuable connection opportunity by just checking in. So if you can't do that, JT, then what the heck do you do? Well, that's what we're here to talk about today. As I mentioned, it's about driving meaningful conversations. Here's what we know about networking. Networking is about serving people. It's about getting to know people better. It's about earning trust and respect so that if and when the time comes and it makes sense, there's a way for the two of you to collaborate in some way. Sometimes it's you helping somebody with their career or vice versa. And, as professionals, we know it is important to network. And we say this all the time at Work It Daily, your network is your net worth. Over 80% of all jobs are gotten via some form of referral. So it's not that you know somebody really well at a company, but maybe somebody knows somebody who works there, and that gets your resume at least in front of the hiring manager, and also sort of a closer look because somehow you're connected to somebody that works there. These are the things that become vitally important. So expanding your network is something you must do in this day and age if you want to stay employable long-term. Again, your network is your net worth, so you've got to focus on that. And it's those meaningful connections, those meaningful conversations that you have with people that builds the trust, that earns the respect, that gets people to want to mobilize and help you. And same for you. The more you get to talk to people and have meaningful conversations, the more inspired you are to want to find a way to help them so that everybody wins. So networking, very important. And just because we are quarantined, just because we don't have our traditional ways of networking, does not mean networking goes on hold. No, it does not. But I'm also saying that you can't be insensitive, right? So reaching out to people right now and asking them about jobs and things like that, asking for help directly is very self-centered and really kind of tone deaf and not emotionally intelligent. So what you'll notice today is that all 10 of these unique networking tips that I'm going to give you are about you giving in some way, because that is the best possible thing you can do to earn trust and respect with people right now, is give in some sort of fashion. And so we're going to look at all the fun and interesting ways that you can do that. Are you ready? All right, let's get started with number one. Host a virtual meetup. We all have a bunch of LinkedIn connections we probably haven't talked to in forever. And if we were to step back and analyze our connections, I'm sure we could find that we have a whole bunch of people we went to school with, or a whole bunch of people that we have the same skill set as us, or a whole bunch of people that are in the same industry as us. There are lots of connections that you can put together. So why not? I mean, in this day and age, we've got all sorts of tools that we can use to virtually connect with people. Why not put together a little group? You know, we're seeing all sorts of people get together and have cocktail hours and do fun things to socialize because they can't go be with their friends on the weekends. Well, we can do the same thing right now. How about you get a whole bunch of people together for coffee one morning and say, I want to talk about our industry over coffee. So the 10 of you on this email list, I'm inviting you to a virtual coffee. Here's the link. Let's hang out and let's talk about what you're hearing that's going on in the industry, what's happening in your organization, and where you see this is going. Where do you see the future opportunities? Just be the person, the ringleader that puts it all together. That's it. You don't have to have all the answers. I'm not suggesting that you present anything. Just bring people together to talk about a subject related to their industry or their skill set, something that they can all share together. In this day and age, people are looking for those opportunities. So why can't you be the person that orchestrates that? All right, number two, write an article featuring others' expertise. Okay, so most of us, hopefully all of us, are on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn gives you the opportunity to not only post content in a feed so that all of your followers and connections can see it, but all of us can also write an article. So why not write an article featuring 10 people in your industry that you really admire? You can reach out to them and say, hey, I'm putting together an article about this subject in our industry, or about our skill sets, or something that's happening, something in the news. You are one of the top 10 people that I admire in the space. Would you be willing to write just 2 or 3 sentences about what you think about this so that I could include it in this article on LinkedIn, and I will link to your LinkedIn profile? So maybe not everybody's going to respond, but a lot of people will, especially if you don't try to go for super famous people. Again, shoot for people in your network. Shoot for people that you're already connected to, that you really admire, and you just haven't developed a relationship. And of course, if you want to be bold and daring, reach out to some people at some companies on your bucket list that you admire and say, hey, I'd like to connect with you because I'd like to get your insights for this article. Just put your journalism hat on and put it together. You've got nothing to lose. The worst thing that can happen is that they don't respond. Who cares? Then they don't get included in your amazing article. But this is such an easy thing to do. Again, doesn't require any expertise on your part. And now you're featuring 10 people. And when you post the article, you get to message them and link to them. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to put it in their feeds. And their thousands of connections and followers are going to see it. And this is how you can amplify your own voice on the platform by serving others. Number 3, record a video with a quick tip or question. Look, we're over the fancy production value. For gosh sakes, most people are producing in their home offices, living rooms, bedrooms, wherever these days, and we're totally accepting of it. In fact, I listened to someone the other day who was talking about the realism that when you film someplace in your home, in your car, it creates more of a sense of intimacy, and that people actually tend to trust you more. So why not turn a camera on and give people a quick tip about something in your industry or something related to your skill set, something that you find yourself constantly coaching your clients on, or your employees on, or whoever. If you've got something to share, share it. And then at the end, say, what do you all think? What else can you add to it? What else haven't I thought of here? You don't have to be the expert that has all the answers. You can just put it out there and say, well, here's one thing I do, and this is how it helps me save time or improve efficiency or whatever. What do you all do? Get people talking, but put a little video clip out there so that they can see you and hear you. You know, we always hear that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, I would say a video is worth 1,000,000. Such a wonderful way to connect with people. And again, share your expertise and serve your network. All right, moving on to number 4. Okay, this is, I don't know why people don't do this every day. I'm going to get kind of wound up about this one. Comment in detail on peers' posts. So you're in LinkedIn. We've gotten kind of social media lazy, especially on LinkedIn. We look at our feeds. Maybe we hit a like button if we feel like it. And what does a like really do? What does it really do, folks? On something like LinkedIn, it then puts it in your feed so other people can see it. Okay, fine. But this person put this piece of content out there in hopes of generating a dialogue, in hopes of having a meaningful conversation with someone. So why not do it? Comment something thoughtful and detailed. Explain to them why you agree with the article they posted, why the particular point in the video they shared that you liked. Really dive in deep and then ask a question back. Because I'll tell you something, anybody that posts on LinkedIn, when they get a thoughtful response, they read it and they remember who wrote it. And if you ask a question and give them an opportunity to respond, now you've just had a meaningful dialogue and you're completely stored away in their brain as somebody who took the time out of their day to really respond to the piece of content that they so carefully curated to put in their feed. Think about that. It's just going the extra mile. It really does stand out. In a funny way, it's like, have you ever noticed on something like Facebook or some of your other social feeds, the more personal feeds, when it announces your birthday and you see really nice, genuine happy birthday wishes from people you haven't talked to forever, but meanwhile, the people you talk to every day didn't even respond? Really sticks with you who the random people are that wish you a happy birthday. Same situation here. When you take the time to really write a detailed response to somebody's post on LinkedIn, you really stand out. It's special. So this is something you can easily do every single day. Moving on to number 5. This is a really fun one. Build and distribute a resource list. So there is a gentleman in my industry who took it upon himself to build the most comprehensive contact spreadsheet by industry specialty. So people who are in HR, people who are in outplacement, people who are in benefits consulting, people who are in employee relations, like all these different things. And he put together people's contact information and websites in this massive database that is a Google Doc that you can request to have access to and that he periodically updates. So what he's done over time is built up this massive newsletter. And I'd say probably once a month, he just sends an email out to all of us and says, I recently updated the list. A couple of things you might want to check out. So he highlights anything special. I hope everyone's doing well. First of all, he's saving so much of us the hassle of having to do this ourselves. He's sharing his knowledge and he's doing it on an ongoing basis, which automatically puts him in my mind every single month for a really valid reason. And it shouldn't surprise you that when I had a project come up for my company, who did I contact? I contacted him and his company. It was genius. It was absolutely genius. So why can't you do the same thing? I'll give you another example. Hashtags on LinkedIn. Hashtags have blown up. They're now using hashtags as a way for you to have stuff show up in your feed. So if you follow certain hashtags, for example, we have the hashtag JT Talks Jobs. And if you follow that hashtag, anything that we tag, you'll get access to. So it's a way for people to get all our latest career information. Well, there's so many different hashtags right now, and it's really blowing up on LinkedIn. And you want to choose very carefully which hashtags you're following. Every single week, the number of people following a certain hashtag changes. So you might think that you are using all the hashtags that are most important and most relevant to your industry. But as weeks go on and new hashtags that are more relevant get added to your industry, you need to know about them. So at Work It Daily, we have a working list of hashtags and the amount of followers they have. And we send this out to all of our members because we teach our members how to curate and post content on LinkedIn and how to expand their network using hashtags. Because if you use the right hashtags, it increases how many new people see the stuff that you post. We send this out on a regular basis. It's our way to stay in touch with those people. This is all you need to do, folks. Think of a resource list that would need to be updated on an ongoing basis so you would have a valid reason to reach out to people. Start creating the list and inviting people to get your updates. All right, number 6, put together an alumni group. So I kind of mentioned to this earlier when I said talk about a meetup, but this is kind of a cross between the resource list and the meetup. So maybe you want to start an alumni group of everybody that you went to school with. College would be normal, but I'll tell you one that's become really popular, alumni of a certain company. So way back when I worked at this company, an incredible company, It was called Office Specialists, and eventually it was acquired by a company called Randstad, which is one of the largest staffing companies in the world. But all of us at Office Specialists, before we were acquired, it was a very tight company. We were very close. There were hundreds and hundreds of employees, but we were like a family. So several years after we were acquired by Randstad, somebody in our group reached out and said, I'm going to host an alumni session. Let's get everybody that you know that worked at Office Specialists, send me their email. We're going to put it together and we're going to have a breakfast together. We're all going to get together. And after that, we had this virtual list that we could do things with. So why not start that list? You could then do the virtual meetup. You guys could collaborate on some kind of content together. You could do a number of things. But take it upon yourself to get an alumni group going. You could start your own group on LinkedIn and everybody had access there and you could build from there. Be the spearhead, be the leader of putting this group together. People will love you for it. They'll appreciate it. And all of a sudden you all have a reason to network together. Number 7, promote the work of companies on your interview bucket list. Okay, so if you don't have an interview bucket list, well, then you can't do this one. But all my Work It Daily members, you have one of these because we teach you how to build one. An interview bucket list is the 10, 20, 30 companies you'd most like to work for. And you admire and respect what they do. You love their products, their services, the customers they serve, whatever it is. It's not that you heard they were a good place to work. It's that you really connect with their mission and what they're about. Well, if that's true, you should have no problem sharing their good work on social media. Now, why do you want to do this? Because they're going to see it? Probably not. They're probably not going to see it. That's actually not why you do it. You do it because all the people you network with, your friends, your family, your colleagues in your LinkedIn feed, for example, they see you promoting it and know why you like it. So when the time comes for you to apply for a job there, you can go to them, and if they know somebody, they'll remember that you had that company on your bucket list, that you love that company. So it's more about making your entire network aware what kinds of companies you admire, what products and services you respect. This is how, should they hear about an opportunity and they know about your skill set, they might even come to you and say, I remember that you really loved ABC Corp and what they do for their customers. Well, I know somebody there and I heard they're hiring a digital marketing person and it made me think of you. Have you checked it out? See how that works? See how you can get people literally looking for jobs for you? Well, until you tell them the kinds of companies you admire, until you start promoting and hyping the companies you think are the best, they're not going to know that. So this is a wonderful way to do that. Number 8, use humor to lighten the heaviness in your industry or profession. So this might be an advanced technique. Not everyone might be comfortable with this one, but there are tools out there. Namely, I'll tell you one that I'm using quite a bit right now, TikTok. And on TikTok, all I'm doing is creating short videos to give people, career advice or to make them laugh regarding ironic career situations, ironic job search situations, things like that. It was easy enough to learn to use. The technology is super easy, and I'm able to download those TikTok videos and post them in my LinkedIn feed. And, people comment and say, that was really funny. You made my day. You made me smile. That music was great. You can choose songs and just, have songs play over and then put captions, things like that. It's a really easy and fun tool. And one, we all need to learn how to use technology anyways. But if not that tool, something else, just put together something short and fun or find something fun. If you don't want to produce content, go find some funny content that relates to your industry or your skill set and add it into your feed. People remember that. People remember when you took the time to lighten their mood, especially when it is industry or career specific, right? Because it's kind of the insider joke amongst your peers, that kind of thing. That's a wonderful thing, that kind of humorous club that we're all a part of. And so when you do that, that can really help you stand out. Number 9, start a daily trivia challenge. So every industry and every profession usually has some data points around it. And I'm sure that you could pull those together. And how fun is that for you to post a question every day and, see who can answer it first or who can answer it right. There's always those in social media. I always see those posts where they say, see if you can do this math equation. And then, 86,000 people comment and they all have a different answer to the equation. Very fun, right? But it gets you engaged. Well, you can do the same thing in your profession or in your skill set. And not only is it fun, it gets all the people that are your peers, trying to answer and engage. It's very memorable. And you're educating people who aren't part of your industry or skill set on it as well. So it's a very fun way to kind of gamify your networking and, easy enough to do. Doesn't take a lot of time. And finally, number 10, doing a next level reference. So a reference or a recommendation, as it's called on LinkedIn, is when you post something about somebody and it will show up on their LinkedIn profile. Now, the reason those are a good thing is because they can track it. So if a recruiter's looking at a LinkedIn profile and there's a recommendation there, they can click on the recommendation and see who on LinkedIn wrote it. So there's a legitimacy to it. Whereas these days, most people won't bother if you say, well, I've got a letter of references or I've got a letter of recommendation, a written one. They won't take it because you could have made it up. So they want some sort of trackable way. So recommendation on LinkedIn is great. But let's take it a step further. Go through your LinkedIn connections, find somebody you really admire, what you love about them, and then if possible, find a picture of the two of you or take a picture of the two of you, right? Don't tell them what you're doing. Take a picture, find an old picture, whatever it is, post it, and then in a long form, write why you admire them so much. Write what they taught you as a professional, how they've made you a better professional, a better person, what makes you smile about them, why you feel lucky to know them, maybe a funny story about how the two of you met and got to know each other. Just tell the journey of your relationship and put them on a pedestal. That's what I mean about next level. Put them on a pedestal. I can tell you that, first of all, it says a lot about you to take time out of your day to really do that for somebody. Everyone reading your profile is going to go, oh, gee, I wish he or she did that for me. That's so thoughtful. And boy, they really care for someone. Secondly, the person that receives it, oh my gosh, mind blown. How does that make you feel to have somebody go to that length to compliment you and to recognize you, right? So talk about a feel-good factor. If you did that a couple times a week, wow, just a wonderful thing, okay? So there you have it, right out of the gate, 10 unique and fun ways that you can network during a crisis. They're all about giving. They're all about connecting, having meaningful conversations, and really making a strong impression. And I just want you to remember that, because people really do remember who makes an impact on them during a crisis. I think it was Maya Angelou that says that people don't remember what you did, but they remember how you make them feel. I think that's the phrase. And if you really think about that when it comes to networking, having a deeper impact, going the extra mile, doing something inventive, innovative, different, doing more than the just I'm checking in, that's what it's about, folks. The bigger the impact, the more memorable you are, the stronger your network. And you can do this. We got the time, we got the resources, and now no excuses. You've got the ideas. So I really want to hear from all of you, especially all of you that are live with me today. Which one are you going to do? Everyone in the comments right now, I want you to tell me which one of these you're going to try first, so that I know that you're going to take your networking efforts to the next level. Okay? Awesome. And now I'm going to take some questions on all of that, which I can't wait. But again, I just want to remind people 2 amazing things my team and I have put together over at Work It Daily during this crisis. First is our Laid Off and Looking webinar, which teaches you how to build a strategy to look for a job more faster and more effectively. And secondly, starting next week, our own private live training in the Work It Daily platform for our members only is how to get unstuck in your job search. It's a customized approach to figuring out exactly which roadblocks you're dealing with and how to remove them. So I hope you'll check that out as well. All right, let's go over to the chat and see what people have questions on regarding to networking. So first question is from Laura. Laura says, JT, I'm thinking of starting a live feed, but I don't know how to ask people to come. Something related to my industry. Have any tips? Yes. So first of all, people get really worried about doing one of these and not having enough attendees. Who cares? Who cares if you do it all alone by yourself, Laura? What I would suggest is you pick a topic and map out 3 things you want to talk about, right? 3 key points or 3 key ideas, concepts, and have a little bit of information, insight, advice, thoughts on each one. So take a little time to outline the topic and then say 3 things, that are going on in our industry, or because numbers really help. Having listicles and things like that can help people get their attention, give them a sense of what you're going to be talking about, and then just throw it out to people. Pick a good time. So think about when most people have time. We found that people do really well if you're trying to get people across many time zones. Usually after 12 noon is better. Between 12 and 3 is usually ideal. If you're really trying to focus people in a local time zone, then you might want to do something in the morning, like a coffee, something like that, and just invite people. And what I would tell you, Laura, is invite 10 times more people than you think you'd ever want on the event, because a lot of people just can't make it. And then have a little structure to it and make sure you record. Because what you want to do is send the recording out to all the people that couldn't attend so they can see it and go, oh, that was kind of interesting. I'll attend the next one. And then, Laura, don't give up too soon. You got to stick with it. Even if it feels weird, even if it feels like there's not a lot of people there, you just keep producing some content and saving it and sharing it. Because it's like a snowball in the beginning when you're trying to make a snowman. It feels like you can't get anything going. And then all of a sudden, it really does pick up steam. So you got to stick with it, okay? It gets easier as you go. But I love your ideas. And I think if you just put a little structure on it, you'll be fine. Paige says, how about getting 10 recruiters you've worked with asked to give feedback on how the current economy impacts recruitment in a specific industry? That's Paige. That's a beautiful example. That's exactly what I mean. So 10 recruiters' perspectives on how recruiting is being impacted by COVID-19. Perfect. Now you write it, you post it, and you send it to those 10 recruiters, and they post it in their feeds, and a million people have seen it. That's how it works. It's that easy. So easy for you to do. Good job, Paige. How do you get a resource list? Well, Stephanie, if you create one. So whatever industry you're in, what pieces of information would people want in one place right now? How do you become a directory? What are, maybe it's all the websites they'd be interested in, or do they need phone numbers or contact information? Maybe it's a collection of articles that speak to certain subjects that they're having to research. Go out and ask, say, what's a list of resources we could all use in our industry right now? People will tell you. And then go make that list happen. Pull it together and say, this is a living, breathing document. I'll share it with you in Google Docs. And as I find more things, I'll drop them in there. You may get other people who want to contribute as well. And next thing you know, people will be sending you something and you'll be having all sorts of conversations with people. And you are the ringleader. You are the person that put it together. Let's see. How can you categorize your contacts on LinkedIn? Yeah, unfortunately, it's not so easy. Years ago, they used to have this amazing contact management tool, which they got rid of because now it's a paid feature, unfortunately. My advice is to export your contacts. You can export your contact data into a spreadsheet, and you can take a look at that information and start to sort it. It'll take you some time, right? But you could chip away at it. As we say at Work It Daily, don't think you have to do it all day. Export all the contact data and say, I'm going to start to put everybody in a certain category by industry and chip away at it. You do a little bit every day. Before you know it, you'll have it organized. Let's see. DB says, how do you get motivated when you lost your job? Oh, okay. So it sounds like we're moving on from the networking and we're getting down to the job search stuff, which is fine by me. Let's transition over there. So when you lose your job, it is absolutely a terrible time. And you're going to go through the 5 stages of career grief, which I talked about on an episode or 2 ago. And that depression point, that overwhelming point, you've got to give yourself a time limit. You absolutely have to give yourself a time limit. And the reason you want to do that is because the longer you sit in that negative thought pattern, the harder it is to get out. So here's what I would do. I would say to myself, today's my day. I have 1 day to grieve. I have 1 day to be miserable. I have 1 day to say all the nasty things that I want to say and feel sorry for myself and be angry at the people that I think have it better than me. I have 1 day, and I'm going to let it all out today in the privacy, of my own home, in my bedroom. I'm going to let it out and feel bad. But tomorrow, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do one thing to start this job search. I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to take a timer on my phone, and I'm going to set it for 5 minutes. And for 5 minutes, I'm going to do one thing related to my job search, like get my resume together. And then after 5 minutes, if I'm feeling okay, I'm going to keep going. And if I don't, I'm going to stop. And the next day I say, okay, I'm going to set it for 5 minutes twice in this day. And I'm going to work for 5 minutes on my job search 2 times today. And if I get in the zone and go longer, great. If not. And the third day, I'm going to do it 3 times. And I want you to do that all the way up to the point that you realize that 6 times a day would be 30 minutes. That's not a lot of time. 30 minutes out of a 24-hour day. And the reason I tell you to do that is that I can't just tell you when you're feeling negative to suddenly feel positive. I just need to get you to someplace neutral. The technique for doing that is having you do little things day after day and increasing it a little bit day after day. And when you do that, you will suddenly move from negative thinking to neutral thinking. And neutral thinking will get you to positive thinking. Makes sense? It's really important that you build every single day, that you don't say to yourself, okay, I've just got to do this, because you're not physically built to do that. You're going to have to go through this. So you can wallow in it for one day, but starting the next day, you're going to use that 5-minute timer and you're going to execute for 5 minutes on that job search, and then 10, and then 15, and then 20, all the way up to 30. And I promise you, what happens is you start to make progress. You start to realize that you can do this and that there's no point in being sad and negative, because it's the only person is hurting is you. It truly is. It's the worst thing you can do for yourself. So just a little bit every day will get you there. And again, the other thing I will tell you when it comes to being laid off and struggling is that you should never do this alone. I don't know why people feel this way, especially in the United States. Everyone has it in their head that they're supposed to be able to figure this career thing out themselves, and that there's something wrong with them if they can't. School taught us everything except how to get the job, how to deal with layoffs, how to move through these career situations. We need help. We need resources. We need a supportive community, and we need mentors. We need coaches. And I'm not just saying this. There are studies by Harvard that show you cannot grow in a vacuum. And that means you can't grow by yourself. A single person cannot grow by themselves. They need information so they can change their perspective and expand their possibilities. They need other people to keep them motivated and to keep the negative self-talk out, right? You have to surround yourself. You hear this all the time. Surround yourself with the right people. And they need mentors, coaches to guide them in the right direction. This is something pro athletes use all the time, right? Executives, you need to do the same thing. So when you're feeling down, remember, you can't do this alone. You've got to find those 3 C's: courses, coaching, community. When you've got those, you'll be able to move forward. Okay. Eugene says, hey, JT, thank you for everything that you're doing. Really appreciate it. Oh, thanks, Eugene. I have a question. I've heard from the recruiters, career experts, that gap in the professional experience post-COVID is going to be the new normal, and it won't hurt the job search really badly. What do you think? Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, COVID, let's face it, as of the date of the airing of this, 17 million people have applied for unemployment in 3 weeks. 17 million people. That's, by most accounts, are saying over 13% unemployment in 3 weeks. It's not over. We're going to have a lot more layoffs in the coming weeks. So that's a harsh, harsh reality. Some are predicting as much as 24% unemployment. That's literally 1 in 4 people. No one's going to think twice about gaps due to COVID. Not twice. I will tell you what they'll pay close attention to, though, is how you handle yourself post-COVID. So are you going to use COVID as an excuse? Or are you going to be able to tell about how you learned and how you grew through COVID? Are you going to be dialed in and know exactly what you want next in your career? Do you know exactly how you want to help employers going forward? Are you ready to lift them up? And the reason I say this is because when this is over and the dust settles, the people that kept their jobs are going to be exhausted. They're not only going to have survivor's guilt, but they're going to have had lots of extra work that was thrown on their shoulders because they kept their jobs while others didn't. And the people that had to make the awful, terrible decisions to lay off, right, in order to save other jobs and keep businesses in business so that they could someday get back to their normal state and hire again and add jobs again, those people are literally going to have a form of PSTD. So don't think it's easy on them. It is extreme. Nobody wins in this situation. My point being is that post this, it's going to be those people that didn't have jobs in COVID and can't wait to get back to work, that have incredibly positive energy, that know how they want to help people, that want to go into organizations and say, let's move on, we can do this. Those are the people that are going to get hired. So it's going to be less about the gap and a lot more about your attitude. And if you don't have that attitude and you can't get that attitude, you need to work with someone who can get you there, because that attitude will get hired fast. Every company is going to want new blood. They're going to want new people, fresh ideas, people who aren't carrying baggage, people who aren't stuck in the COVID past. And that has to be you. That's who will get hired faster, for sure. Let's see. I was wondering, I've done so many applications, even customizing everything and doing a specialized cover letter and just got one interview. How do I contact people without sounding too needy? Well, we did just do a whole session on networking strategies. So what you need is more visibility within your network so that you can reach out to your network after giving to them and serving them in a lot of creative ways and saying, hey, I see you know someone at XYZ company. They're on my bucket list. I wrote this whole cover letter about why I would love to work for them. Do you think you might know somebody at the organization I could get my resume in front of? I'm not looking for you to get me a job, just looking for a connection, right? Those requests for help don't sound needy and are always more accepted when you've served your network. So start with the techniques that we talked about today and really get people seeing you as someone who is meaningfully trying to connect and help people right now. That's what you need to do. All right. Okay, this is a great one. Let's see. What question should I ask JT if I get laid off? I love this question, whoever asked it. So many people I work with, when they get laid off, they are completely overwhelmed. They're in shock. They're emotional and they shut down. And you cannot afford to do that in that moment because that is that very small window you have where a representative of the company can answer some extremely important questions for you. And if you leave that meeting and you don't have these questions answered, it's going to be a lot harder for you to get the answers, and it can make it more difficult for you to get things like unemployment and even a new job, right? So there are 10 questions that I teach all Work It Daily members to ask if and when they get laid off. And if they get laid off and they didn't ask these questions, I try to get them to go find somebody at the organization and get these 10 questions answered. And let me walk you through them because they're so important for you to know. First one, what's my last official day of employment? Okay, you need to know the end date of your employment. That will impact how you apply for unemployment in your state, right? And to receive benefits. They're going to want to know the last day that you worked. Secondly, will I be getting any severance? Some companies will give you severance, which is extra pay beyond your last day of employment. That will also impact what you get for unemployment. Your state's going to want to know that because they're not going to give you any unemployment benefits until the money you were given has run out. Number 3, when will I get my last paycheck and how will I get it? So most companies will pay in the last pay cycle. So whenever you're due, your normal paycheck is when you'll get it. They're required to give it to you. They can't hold on to it for an extended period of time or delay when you're going to get that. So you want to ask when you're going to get that check. And some of them will decide to not put it in direct deposit and mail it to you, which buffers them and gives them some extra time before those get deposited. So if that's the case and you're going to get a check in the mail, then you need to make sure that they have your proper address so that you get the check. Number 4, will I get paid any outstanding vacation or personal time? So you want to check your employee handbook on this policy first before you ask this question, because some companies say, hey, if we lay you off, you don't get any of that. But some say you do. Like if we lay you off or you're leaving, we'll pay that out, in which case they owe that to you. And you can mention that because they would need to pay you that money. All right. Otherwise, they could be taken to claims court on that. Number 5, how long will my medical benefits last and when will I be eligible for COBRA? So this is for anyone that has health insurance, for example. At some point in time, your benefits, your premiums run out that are paid or partially paid by your employer. And then you would need to go and do something called COBRA, which is you have access to your same insurance for 18 months afterwards, but you have to pay all of the premiums. And there are some rules around when you have to sign up for it by, that sort of thing. So you want to make sure that they're very clear to you in terms of your COBRA and who you can contact regarding COBRA after you leave. Number 6, who can a future employer contact for a reference? This is a big deal, folks, because what if your manager is also laid off? Everyone's gone. Who can they contact at the company to verify that you actually work there? They should have a name and an email address and somebody that you can give to a potential employer in the future. Number 7, what information will be verified on my reference check? This is also very important. Some companies have a strict policy that they will only verify your dates of employment, your start date, your end date, right? And your pay rate. Some of them won't give any sort of feedback on your performance. And you need to know that, because if you don't know that, you can't forewarn an employer. So when they call up and they start asking questions about you and the company says, we don't give that information out, they could misinterpret it as, okay, what happened here? Maybe they did something wrong. So you want to be able to go on the offensive and say, hey, just so you know, my employer only verifies dates of employment and pay rates. So they're probably not going to give you much info, but here's the contact info so you can call them. Okay. And then number 8, am I eligible for rehire if a job comes available? Folks, You must ask this question, and let me tell you why. Some companies are going to claim they're laying you off, but in their paperwork, they're going to list you as fired. And if they list you as fired, it could mess with your ability to get unemployment, right? Because if you get laid off, you're owed unemployment. In some states, if you get fired, you don't get unemployment. So you want to ask, am I eligible for rehire? Because if they say yes, then that's confirming it was a layoff. If they say no, then that's them saying that they're coding you as fired. And that is a big deal, in which case you're going to need to state why. You're going to have to ask why you are not eligible for employment and get that in writing. And in some cases, you can even go after them for defamation of character or for miscalculating that, especially if they told you it was a layoff, but they labeled you as being fired. Number 9, will I receive outplacement services to help me with my job search? Another huge one. So most executives and senior level managers know that when they're exiting a company to negotiate for career coaching services. Those are called outplacement services. And the reason for that is studies show that people that get help with their LinkedIn profile, their resume, their cover letter, their job search, and their networking get jobs 2 times faster. So managers and executives know to ask for this stuff, but the average professional does not, and therefore doesn't ask for it and doesn't get it as a benefit. You need to ask for outplacement. The fact that you're asking for it will make them understand that you know this. And if they say no, you should follow up and say, is anyone in the organization getting outplacement? Because if they lie to you and say no, and you find out people did, then you would have reason to go after them for discrimination. And if they are giving outplacement, then you have means to say, well, I want some too, okay? Outplacement is so important. And right now, candidly, a lot of companies are going to argue they don't have the money for outplacement because traditional outplacement is very expensive. It's usually about $2,400 a person, which is why they only give it to executives. However, companies like ours, Work It Daily, we're an outplacement alternative. Literally for 1/10 the cost of that, 1/12, if I do the math correctly, you could have a year's worth of outplacement and career coaching with us. And so think about that. No excuses. You should be entitled to outplacement. It's going to get you off unemployment faster, which is a benefit to them because they have to pay those unemployment insurance premiums. So you want to ask for outplacement. You want to check and see if anyone's getting outplacement and you want to push for it, or at least ask to be reimbursed for it. Okay, and number 10, who can I contact with any additional questions I have? Never leave a layoff situation without the name and email address of somebody you can contact regarding any other questions you have, because you may have them. And it's important that you be able to get straight to someone, because once again, the people that you know at the company, they may not be there any longer. And then you might not have any contacts and it'll be very difficult to get in touch with someone. Okay. So 10 extremely important questions that you should ask when you're getting laid off. Make sure you have those somewhere. Folks, the reality is so many people have been laid off recently. We probably all know one, if not multiple people who have been laid off, and they're going to keep coming, which means you could be next. And to not have these questions ready is just a shame, because you need these questions in the moment when you're most vulnerable and most emotional. So make sure you type those up. You've got them ready to go. And that way you'll be able to leave that situation with the information you need to move forward. Awesome question. Love that question, by the way. All right. Jess says, I've been thinking about becoming a career coach, as working with candidates and helping them is my favorite part of my job. What would be the best way to pivot from this, from corporate talent acquisition? Okay, let me say that again. I'm sorry, I'm going to read that again, Jess. It says, I've been thinking about becoming a career coach, as working with candidates and helping them is my favorite part of my job. Mine too, by the way. What would be the best way to pivot into this from a corporate talent acquisition role? Wonderful. Okay, so there's a lot of coaching certifications that you can go out and get right now. I, having been in the career coaching industry literally since 2002, I got a coaching certification, opened up a private practice until 2008. The challenge with getting into career coaching, I'm going to be brutally honest, is that when you're an independent career coach, it is very hard to stay in business for yourself because you have to do everything, all aspects of it. The part that you love, coaching and helping other people, is one small part when you have to find the business and market yourself and do the accounting and do all of those other things. So I have seen so many people come and go in career coaching over the years because they just couldn't keep the business going and they couldn't, financially sustain themselves. My advice is to go and find some place that is hiring career coaches or career support specialists and work for them. And it's funny, at Work It Daily, we're exploding right now. In fact, we just announced that we're going to be hiring a whole bunch of career support specialists. And so we're looking for people in recruiting, human resources, and even learning and development to apply. And we're doing something a bit unconventional. What we're doing is opening up our training, because every single career support specialist at Work It Daily goes through a comprehensive training here that was designed by me and the head of coaching at Work It Daily. And so we're going to be opening that course up and letting people take it for free. So what you do is you apply. We have a site you can go to, you can apply. And if you are accepted into the program, it's free. You take the training for free. So you'll learn. Great opportunity for you to see if you really do like this, because sometimes people like it, but then when they get in there and they see what it's really like, they don't like it. So great opportunity to learn that. After you take the class, you can sit for the exam with us. Doesn't cost anything. You take the exam. We have to know that you're capable of doing the work. And then if you pass the exam, you'll be able to become an independent contractor and a career support specialist with us. It's a virtual job, so it's a great work from home job. And then after that, the people that do the best in that role will become full-time employees. They'll be extended full-time employee roles with the company. So that's one way that we're doing it. We're not the only ones out there. My advice, though, go find a larger organization that has career coaching, career support specialists like us, and work for a company like that first, because you really want to make sure it's right for you before you go out and start your own thing. Like I said, I saw way too many people, especially in the last recession, decide to become career coaches, and within a year or two, they were out of the biz. And it's too hard to do on your own, and it's really lonely. You're better off being part of a major group. You know, all our coaches are really tight. They work together. You know, they're part of a team. They're learning together. They're growing together. And we're certainly not the only one. So research the organizations where you could work with a bunch of career support specialists and coaches and take it from there. Okay, awesome. All right, great questions today, everyone. Thank you so much for coming by. Don't forget, we're putting the link in there, Laid Off and Looking. We had over 2,000 people sign up in less than 7 days. The feedback has been amazing. It is all about digging in deep and identifying your strategy for job search so that you can be far more effective. With so many people unemployed right now and more coming, you have got to have your head in the game. You need to be dialed in and really go after those jobs in a succinct fashion. And of course, come join us at Work It Daily, folks. I don't know why people don't at least check us out and find out that for less than what you spend on coffee for a week, for your Spotify membership or your Netflix membership, you could have unlimited access to our career support specialists, a community of peers, all sorts of coaching resources, we have our own private phone app. You can access this on the phone, on the web, and be part of a community, work with me and the rest of the team. Seriously, it's a game changer, and we all need this and we all deserve this, especially right now when you're surrounded by negativity and just people that are struggling. You have to be around the right information, the right mindset, and that's what we're about. So please come check us out. I promise you're going to fall in love with it. You got nothing to lose. Join us for a month and see what happens. I guarantee you won't want to leave. That's what our clients tell us. So on that note, I'm going to sign off. I'm so glad you stopped by today. I hope this information was helpful. Be back again next week, next Tuesday and Thursday, here to help you. Stay strong, stay healthy, stay safe. And remember, if you want to win, you got to work it daily.